Picture a quaint Irish morning in the spring of 1991. Two elderly souls, Conor and Sheila Dwyer, hand in hand, step out of their home on Chapel Hill in Fermoy, County Cork. Their destination, St. Patrick's Church, just a stone's throw away for a funeral mass. It's 9:30 in the morning on the 30th of April, and they're greeted warmly by a neighbor as they enter the church grounds, a familiar, unremarkable scene. But in the days that follow, the ordinary peels away its calm facade. That evening, they don't return. The next morning, Sheila rings her sister. Everything seems fine. After that, nothing. No calls, no visits, no trace of either of them. It wasn't unusual for them to take short trips, but those were always communicated. Yet nearly 3 weeks pass without a word. On the 22nd of May, their family reports them missing. The silence is deafening, no clues, no struggle, just an empty, untouched home, and outside, no car. Their white Toyota Cressida, registration 5797ZT, has vanished too. That quiet walk to a somber church, it was the last confirmed moment the world saw them. And after that, the world held its breath and heard nothing. When Garda finally stepped inside the Dwyers' home, it was like walking into a paused life. Nothing was missing, nothing disturbed. The curtains were drawn, the bed was made. The kitchen was untouched, as if Conor and Sheila had just stepped out for a short stroll and would be back any minute. But they weren't. Their passports were still there untouched. A biscuit tin held over 1,000 Irish pounds in cash. Their clothes were in the wardrobe, their glasses on the table, their lives frozen in place. There were no packed bags, no signs of a getaway, no farewell notes, and no sign of a break-in or struggle. But outside, one glaring absence: the car. Their white Toyota Cressida was gone. That car, with its unmistakable shape and registration plate 5797ZT, was the only thing missing from their quiet life. No one saw it leave, no one saw it parked, and no one has seen it since. It was as if Conor and Sheila had stepped into it, turned the key, and driven straight into the fog of history. The Blackwater River runs quiet through Fermoy, slow and dark beneath its surface. When Conor and Sheila vanished, this river became the first suspect. Gardaí, divers, and search teams descended on the banks. They combed the area. Boats were launched. Every bend and current was scrutinized. The theory was simple but haunting. Maybe the couple drove off the road, maybe by accident, maybe in the fog, maybe they plunged into the Blackwater. It had happened before, and in a river as deep and silty as this one, a car could vanish without a ripple. But there were problems. There were no skid marks, no broken fencing, no disturbed foliage, not a single clue that a vehicle had left the road. And with the Toyota Cressida being a large, heavy car, surely something would have surfaced by now: an oil sheen, a tire, a rusted panel. But there was nothing. As weeks turned to months and then years, the Blackwater remained silent, and without a car, without a trace, the theory started to crumble. Because rivers might swallow wreckage, but they don't usually keep their secrets for over 3 decades. Just when the trail in Fermoy seemed cold, a spark flickered hundreds of miles away. In the summer of that same year, June 1991, a woman at an airport in Lourdes, France, locked eyes with a familiar couple. They looked like Conor and Sheila. Same posture, same walk, same clothes. In fact, the dress the woman was wearing matched one missing from Sheila's wardrobe. She was so certain, she contacted authorities. Weeks later, another sighting surfaced. This time in Munich, Germany. A man resembling Conor was reportedly seen near the city center. That detail raised eyebrows, because Conor had worked with a German businessman named Fritz Wolf. He had ties to the country, a reason to be there, a door to step through if he'd wanted to vanish without raising alarm. Were these two separate false alarms, or breadcrumbs. The problem? No fingerprints, no travel records, no confirmed sightings, just memories and impressions. Back then, there were no biometric passports, no digital trails. If they flew under aliases or used ferries, it would have been almost impossible to trace. Still, two people, both reportedly spotted overseas shortly after they vanished, dressed in clothes never found, in places they had reason to be. Coincidence or a carefully planned second life? 33 years later, it's still unclear. All that remains are glimpses, faces in crowds, never confirmed, never explained. The days turned to weeks, then months, then years. Birthdays passed without phone calls. Holidays came and went with two empty chairs at every table. The Dwyers family waited, hoped, grieved, and waited some more. But Conor and Sheila never walked through that door again. Not a letter, not a postcard, not even a whisper. Their disappearance hung over Fermoy like a storm that never broke. Sheila's siblings, especially her sister, never stopped pushing for answers. They retraced every possible route. They pleaded with Gardaí. They watched Crime Call when the case aired, clinging to hope that anyone might recognize a face, a voice, a memory. But hope can be a cruel companion. Years became decades, and the silence only deepened. Technology advanced, new detectives came and went. Files were boxed, reopened, shelved, and dusted off again. But the story never changed. No car, no bodies, no goodbye. A couple in their 60s disappeared into the void, and for over 33 years, the void gave nothing back. Yet somehow the case refused to die, because somewhere beneath the silence, one truth remained. People don't just vanish, not like this, not without someone somewhere knowing exactly why. Then came a shift 3 decades later in May of 2025. Out of the blue, Gardaí issued a fresh public appeal. After 33 years, they weren't just reopening the file, they were turning it inside out. New detectives, new questions, and surprisingly, a new focus: the seaside town of Cobh. They asked, plainly, had anyone seen the Dwyers or their car in the Cobh area back in 1991? Why Cobh? That detail hasn't been made public. But what's clear is this: something or someone gave investigators reason to look again. They were also asking about Conor's final weeks, his behavior, his conversations, any talk of travel, ferry routes, or big decisions. Were there clues back then that everyone missed? And then came the whispers, unconfirmed, but real enough to spark interest. Rumors of a car similar to the Toyota Cressida being spotted near the ferry terminal. Hints that Conor may have inquired about transport out of the country. Suddenly, what seemed like a closed, silent case had movement again. Gardaí emphasized one thing: even the smallest memory could matter. A chat at the post office, a strange call, a car parked where it shouldn't be. For the first time in decades, they weren't just asking for help. They were insisting on it. The message was clear. The case of Conor and Sheila Dwyer was no longer cold. It was awake and burning with questions. When facts run dry, theories flood in. And in the case of Conor and Sheila Dwyer, 3 have stood the test of time, each one as unsettling as the next. The first, a tragic accident. Maybe they took a wrong turn. Maybe Conor lost control of the car. The Blackwater River, with its steep embankments and murky depths, has swallowed lives before. Some believe the Toyota Cressida may still lie beneath that cold, silt-choked water hidden from search teams, concealed by time. But there's a problem: no broken guardrails, no tire tracks, no trace of impact, not one piece of debris. The second theory, a suicide pact. It's a dark idea, one that family fiercely rejects, but some investigators considered it. Could they have chosen to end things quietly together? Maybe they were facing something the world didn't know. Financial hardship, a diagnosis, something personal. But again, no signs, no notes, no preparations. And why leave behind over 1,000 Irish pounds in cash? And then there's the third theory, the one that refuses to fade. They left by choice. The sightings in Lourdes and Munich, the links to Germany, the clean, undisturbed home. Did Conor and Sheila plan their disappearance, escape the routines of life and vanish into another one? But if so, why no contact? Why cut all ties to family? And how, in a world where paper trails eventually surface, have they stayed invisible for over 33 years? 3 theories, no evidence, no resolution, just shadows stretching across decades, growing darker with time. In every unsolved mystery, there's one missing object that could crack the whole case wide open. For the Dwyers, it's the car. A white Toyota Cressida, registration 5797ZT. Large, distinct, uncommon on Irish roads, even back in 1991. It wasn't just their means of transport. It was the last thing they were known to be near, and it disappeared with them. If that car is found anywhere, in any condition, it could finally explain what happened. If it's submerged in a river, it could point to tragedy. If it's rusting away in a garage, it might suggest a secret. If someone bought it, drove it, sold it on it, means others are involved, knowingly or not. But here's the twist. In over 3 decades, not one confirmed sighting of that car has ever surfaced. No wreckage, no traffic camera record, no registration change, not a single whisper of the Cressida's fate. Gardaí now believe the car is the linchpin of the entire investigation. If it's recovered, modern forensic tools could unlock everything. DNA, fibers, trace evidence, even GPS modules that might have been overlooked in early searches. And maybe, just maybe, that forgotten Toyota is sitting right now, quietly, somewhere waiting to be noticed, waiting to be remembered. Because in the end, it's not just a car. It's the last thing they ever touched. Time changes everything except the truth. In recent months, a new team of detectives began combing through the Dwyer files, page by page. They're speaking with former officers, revisiting long-ignored tips, and applying tools that simply didn't exist in 1991. Digital forensics, enhanced image restoration, AI-based video scanning, even sonar imaging to search the Blackwater River more deeply than ever before. They've reopened conversations with witnesses who were young back then but old enough to remember. They've reached out to ports, ferry operators, and airport archives, anything that might shed light on those missing days. And then there's the human side. Sheila's surviving family members are being contacted again, not just for statements, but for clarity. Were there any forgotten letters? Any old phone messages? Did anyone recall something strange that felt meaningless at the time? Even the public is playing a role. With the renewed appeal, Gardaí received fresh tips. Some of them vague, some of them familiar, but a few, according to inside sources, have been described as worth looking into. The case file is no longer collecting dust. It's in motion again. And as it moves, it brings hope. Because when cold cases get warm, secrets don't stay buried, they surface. Sometimes from rivers, sometimes from memories, but always when someone finally dares to look closer. It's been over 33 years since Conor and Sheila Dwyer walked to morning mass and vanished into the unknown. No bodies, no car, no farewell, just 2 lives erased in broad daylight. But the truth doesn't disappear. It waits. Someone somewhere knows something. Maybe it was a passing glance at a white car parked in the wrong place. Maybe it was a strange conversation in a pub. Maybe it was a coworker who heard Conor mention Cobh, or a ferry, or starting over. And maybe it's you. Gardaí are asking again, not because they want to reopen old wounds, but because they believe this case can still be solved with new eyes, with new science, and most importantly, with new voices. This isn't just about a mystery, it's about closure for the family that never stopped grieving, for the community that still wonders, and for the country that lost two of its own without explanation. So if you remember anything, no matter how small, no matter how long ago it might be the missing piece, after all this time, one sentence could end 33 years of silence. Because people don't just vanish, not without a reason, not without a trace, and not without someone somewhere who saw what really happened